The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a WordStream webinar, how you can respond to recent trends on Facebook and Instagram with our in-house senior product manager for our Facebook product here, Pia. Just to do some housekeeping to start, most of you probably joined us today because you know us from our great blog content. WordStream has an amazing following, tons of content, white papers, free tools. We're premier partners with Google and Facebook. And what some of you may not know is that we also do have a service, a software that helps you manage your Google, Bing, and Facebook from one place. And so that's something that's really cool, and you'll learn a little bit more about today. But we hope that this can really just be a time for you to learn about the trends that are happening on social and how you can react to them with your strategies on PPC. On to the next slide. We also just want to ask you guys to follow us on social. This webinar is about Facebook and Instagram, so definitely follow us on those platforms at least, and stay connected with us on Twitter as well as on our YouTube channel. And then last but not least, this webinar is getting recorded, and we will be sure to send you the slide deck and the recording after the fact. So, also, please ask us questions today. We want this to be good for you and engaging, and anything that's just like on your mind that you want to know about Facebook and Instagram trends, marketing on those platforms, please ask us, feel free, and we'll make sure to get to them at the end. So with that, I will pass things off to our presenter, Pia.
Hi, everyone. Very excited to have you all. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to have you all here today. We have a lot to go through, so we'll kick things off and just review the current state. It's reasonable to presume that no business will emerge entirely unaffected by this pandemic and subsequent economic downturn. We're all in this together, navigating uncharted waters, while almost all of us marketers are asking the same questions. Questions like, should I continue to advertise or pause my campaigns during this time? How do I keep my business top of mind? What should I be promoting? And when do we return to normal? And unfortunately, we don't have the answers to a lot of these questions, but what we do know as marketers is that COVID-19 will test us. It will test us all, but it's up to us to do what we've always done best, and that's to adapt. We do this by staying up to date on the latest trends while understanding new shifts in consumer behaviors, which will be key in helping us identify ways that we can pivot quickly during these times and also protect our brands and businesses in the long term. And while I recognize that everyone's business and personal situation is very different, depending on the type of business and industry you're in, there are still ways that you can continue to speak to new and potential customers during this time. And if you haven't gotten around to crafting your own strategy, that's okay. But if you are in a position where your business can afford to advertise to remain top of mind, then we hope this webinar will help you start pulling together some ideas to get you started. Before we begin, a quick introduction. My name is Pia Sarkonis, and I lead the social product strategy for WordStream. I've helped thousands of small to medium-sized businesses over the last 10 years build their online presence, nurture their audiences with email marketing, and expand their digital marketing reach with social ads. As part of today's webinar, we'll dive in quickly to COVID-19's impact on advertising. We'll look at the changing online media behaviors and Facebook and Instagram advertising performance that we've seen with our own customers. And additionally, we'll also look at next steps that you can take to ensure that you are positioning your brand for success during these uncertain times. But to start, this webinar will be solely focused on Facebook's network, including Instagram, Audience Network, Messenger, and WhatsApp. The reason why we are focusing specifically on Facebook is because they continue to dominate. They are the #1 player in the space, and they provide significant opportunity, not only for consumers, but for businesses as well. Facebook has recently reported that they are now at 2.6 billion monthly active users, which is approximately 1/3 of the world's population. And they also support 60 million active business pages, so lots of opportunity for both businesses and shoppers. Now let's talk about what sort of advertisement disruptions and trends we are seeing as a result of COVID-19. During Facebook's first quarter earnings call last Wednesday, they cited that advertising revenue still experienced double-digit growth year over year, which is mainly due to the effects of the pandemic only taking a larger toll towards the end of the quarter. But Facebook has called out that they have been quick to feel the shifts in ad spending as brands have paused and reduced ad budget during this time, primarily those in the automotive and travel industries. And as the demand has dropped, so has their average price of their ads, which decreased approximately 16% towards the end of the quarter. However, the good news is that the trends and declines that Facebook was seeing towards the end of March have not continued through April. Part of that steady growth has been a result of an increase in gaming ads and steady spending from e-commerce technology players, which have essentially offset significant declines from the travel and automotive industries. And as Facebook cited during their earnings call, advertising is often the most volatile and sensitive to macroeconomic trends. And as a result of this pandemic, we've seen brands of all sizes, small and large, cut, pause, and cancel budgets due to changes in consumer behaviors. And this is going to continue to heavily affect spend in Q2, as almost 90% of agencies and marketing professionals have reported that they expect the pandemic to impact their spending. But optimism remains high for SMBs. In a recent Google survey, 44% of respondents cited that they were maintaining and or increasing their marketing spend during this time. However, 49% did not feel confident that they had the resources and knowledge to address customer needs. And that's a big reason why we're here today. We realize that 49% is a big number for businesses experiencing low confidence, and we're hoping that during today's webinar, we can provide some of the resources, insights, and guidance you'll need to feel more confident when addressing your customers' needs. And the good news is people are online, and they are discovering new brands during this time. Combined with social ads, recommendations and comments that consumers have seen on social media indicate that social platforms like Facebook and Instagram are more important now than ever for brands to invest in. A part of this is also reflective of the way that media consumption is changing and how new media habits are forming for the long term. But it's important to note that as consumer conditions have changed, items that are deemed essential have also changed. What was relevant and needed about a month ago continues to evolve with every news media cycle. People have different mindsets and needs. Think toilet paper to meat products. And again, we recognize that marketers of all sizes have limited budgets, which is why every dollar matters today. But understand that every situation also presents opportunity. Opportunity for you to learn, evolve, and grow. Now let's take a look at how online media consumption is changing. With more people spending time at home, internet usage and online media consumption is at an all-time high. Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T have all noted that they're seeing unprecedented shifts in their network usage. With daily life changing for many of us around the world, millions of people are going online for their entertainment and news, and as a result, total internet hits have surged to between 50 and 70%, according to preliminary statistics. Additionally, websites like Shopify and Facebook have indicated that they're seeing Black Friday levels of traffic every day, which is huge, since those are typically only seen once per year. And in regards to quarantine activities, as online consumption has increased, 95% of consumers say that they're spending more time on in-home media, and about half of those people are also spending more time on social media and messaging services. Depending on the generation, we expect further increases the younger the generation is. And Facebook has been at the forefront of this pandemic, leading by providing more consumers with the tools they need to stay connected in a time where we have never seemed so far apart. They're aware that more people are going online and they're investing heavily in their platform. During Facebook's earnings call last Wednesday, they indicated that their daily average users and monthly average users both saw gains, with daily active users rising 11% to 1.73 billion and monthly active users rising 10% year over year to 2.6 billion. And in regards to what consumers are turning to Facebook for, we're starting to see a resurgence of social media as a news source. There's this constant need to be informed with the latest pandemic information and for users to feel like they truly understand what's going on at all moments of the day. And Facebook is also very aware that many people are turning to its platform as a news source and are investing heavily in ensuring that no misinformation is spread, since trust is low for Facebook as a reliable news source as is. In addition to using Facebook as a news source, users are turning to the platform to remain connected to those that they care about, like their friends and family, and using the platform as a source for entertainment. And this is what it's always been about, a place for users to connect and entertain themselves and build the relationships that matter the most with the people and brands that they care about. Now let's jump into advertising trends and performance. There's a big opportunity here, so we'll begin. For WordStream advertisers that have continued to advertise on Facebook and Instagram during this time, they've seen a positive improvement overall in the number of impressions, reach, and clicks, and all at lower cost. When we look at month-over-month results, impressions and reach have increased by 20 to 27% over the last couple of months, and cost per impression costs have actually decreased by 35% for the month of April. And cost per click, which is the average cost for each link click, has also declined 12% on average year over year when comparing March 2020 versus March 2019. And segments like business and money and lifestyle and activities are even seeing greater decreases of approximately 20% or more in their cost per click. And click-through rate, which is the percentage of people who view your ad and click through, is down approximately 18% across all our segments, which is really interesting because typically when we see a decrease in click-through rate, cost per click tends to rise inversely to that. The reason we're not seeing that inverse relationship is that cost per impression has dropped significantly, making it cheaper to reach your audience. So while click-through rate is down, the cost per impression has saved the impact on your cost per click, which has seen a decrease, making it cheaper to capture your clicks. And although our segments are experiencing decreases overall due to current events, we still see some verticals within some of these segments that are experiencing year-over-year growth. They are primarily in the essential categories, like retailers and gen merchandise, which are experiencing a 50% increase, hobbies and leisure, which are seeing an 18% increase, and news, media, and publications, which are seeing a 15% increase. For non-essentials like dining and nightlife, this can be indicative of businesses in this category really shifting their offers to be more relevant during this time period and more direct action focused. And also Facebook cost per acquisition, which is the price you pay for an action a user takes on your website, has also declined an average of 23% across all our advertising segments. We'll talk a little bit more about why these costs are declining in the next few sections. Now here comes the big question. Should we continue to advertise during this time? I love this quote because it backs up the idea of seeing long-term opportunities shine through uncertainty. But yes, Professor John Couch and us here at WordStream know that the data shows that advertising during tough economic times can be extremely cost-effective and successful. Social media can play a huge role in the purchase journey, right up to the point of purchase, and cost per impressions are dropping, so now is the opportunity. If you have a budget, now is the time to experiment and shift more of your advertising to Facebook and Instagram as other competitors pause. It increases more inventory for you to have the maximum reach possible and at a lower cost. And history has proven that companies that maintain or increase their advertising during investment periods of economic downturn actually increase their sales and market share, both during and after the downturn. So position yourselves now to capture a piece of that market share. And of course, we understand that crises are challenging, but the good news is they don't last forever. In the meantime, here are 5 opportunities and strategies that you can implement regardless if you are considered essential or non-essential, a nonprofit, B2B, or B2C. These techniques can help your business continue to remain top of mind with your audience while building and maintaining relationships. 1, we'll talk about investing in increasing your awareness. 2, we'll talk about not forcing the sell and being cognizant of shifting buyer trends and consumer attitudes. 3, how you can adapt, pivot, and transform your business. 4, how you should continue to test, optimize, and measure. And 5, why you should continue to be empathetic and plan for the future. Let's get started with investing and increasing your awareness. Of course, these are uncertain times, but savvy investors can take advantage of the reduction of cost and competition while growing their market share. Maintaining and growing brand awareness is especially important in times where trust in the market has eroded. People still need to sell their homes, finish their home improvements, repair their vehicles, and when consumers regain their confidence in the market, they are more likely to turn to the brands that they discovered and build trust with during this period. When marketers cut back on their ad spending, oftentimes the brand can lose its share of mind with consumers, which can also result in a loss in potential current and future sales. When marketers increase their share of voice, It'll typically lead to an increase in the share of market, resulting in more sales over the long term. And the good news is the majority of consumers do not think that brands need to stop advertising to them during this time, although they still expect companies to think about their tone, messaging, and communicate around values. There are all these eyeballs looking for content to consume, and even with growing concerns over the virus, they still want these brands to advertise to them. In a recent survey by Kantar, just 8% thought brands should stop advertising, which also aligns with a survey from Twitter, which found that 52% agree that seeing and hearing ads during this time gives them a sense of normalcy. But again, a high level of agreement remains around brands using positive, reassuring tones and keeping their brand values strong during this time. And a great way to guide your own strategy is to find out what your competitors are doing during this time. Have they paused or continued to advertise? And Facebook Ad Library is a great resource for this. Just search their business page name and understand what they are doing. Also dig in and see what your upmarket competitors are doing. The Walmarts, the Amazons, the big national food chains, bigger B2Bs like Oracle or Deloitte. Now is the time to see what they are doing. These are bigger companies with multiple teams and marketing groups who are investing heavily in their strategy. Understand how you can leverage the materials and data that they're using and apply them to your own business. So what did we learn from this section? Invest and don't go dark on your audience. As we called out earlier, 27% of consumers cited that they discovered new brands at this time via social ads. Invest in your brand and increase your awareness and market share when your competitors pause their marketing efforts. While consumers cite that advertisers provide a sense of relief, normalcy, and escape during this time, they still expect brands to be sensitive, not opportunistic. Be more like a friend during this time. People will remember the brands that were humanized. This next strategy revolves around the fact that consumer needs have changed. The consumer condition has changed and people have different mindsets and needs, and that's impacting purchasing behaviors. Business as usual may not necessarily work during this time, so what does? Well, for one, being aware of the current market and consumer behavior trends will certainly help. Really try and understand how your audiences have been impacted before you make any sort of shifts to your advertising strategy. For example, all events have been canceled, people are working from home, socializing is low, and isolation is high. How have their lives been disrupted at this point, and what are their needs during this time? More people are at home, they're bored, they're looking for ways to keep themselves entertained, and they're trying to get more work done. Identify the ways that your business can solve these needs and pay attention to how these needs have shifted also over the last few weeks. We are entering into our 6th week of quarantine, and US consumers have stocked up on all their toilet paper needs. They've started to shift focus on other items to help them gain a better sense of normalcy. While essential products like cleaning and healthcare will continue to remain important, we are starting to see shifts in online personal care and beauty, which could be categorized as a new essential starting to creep up. So continue to follow the trends of what people are purchasing and how you can solve their needs. And for brands, consumers, and advertisers, this pandemic has left many of us confused about what we should be doing, saying, and whether or not we should be advertising. As we cited earlier, yes, consumers still expect us to be advertising during this time, but advertisements should be reflective of what consumers are looking for. In a recent Global Web Index survey, 83% of consumers cited that they support brands providing practical info and tips to help people deal with the situation. 81% support brands running promotions, offers, loyalties, and perks. 80% support brands running flexible payment terms. 79% support brands running ads which show how they are responding to the virus or helping customers. And 75% support brands providing funny, lighthearted videos and content to entertain people. So what does this all mean for you? Well, continue to stay top of mind for customers and identify the ways that you can position your products to be relevant to them during this time. Focus on creating offers that practice social distancing and understand what social traditions are being disrupted by COVID and how your business can help people with important events like birthdays, sports, weddings, which have all been canceled. And tell people how you're responding to the virus. As we mentioned earlier, 79% of consumers support brands running ads which show how they are responding to the virus. All brands have a role to play. How will you participate during this and make people feel more comfortable? Make sure that you're being transparent and communicative and that shoppers understand how you played your role so that they feel confident coming into your store when you open back up. And make sure to offer promotions when possible. At the start of this crisis, offering a promotion could have been seen as being opportunistic. But as consumers become more price conscious with the fear of potential economic recession grows, they'll be more likely to look for special offers before purchasing. Discounts can be a great way to attract new customers, build loyalty among existing customers, and drive traffic to your site. To meet B2C customer needs, this can include promotions related to shipping offers like free and reliable delivery, and remarketing campaigns to entice abandoned cart shoppers to return and complete their purchase. For B2B brands, really consider promotions like flexible payment options and discounts you can provide during this time. We're in a position where many businesses have had to make difficult decisions in order to stay afloat, such as laying off or furloughing staff, so purchase behavior is probably going to be slightly down. Identify the ways that you can help ease that pain. And now more than ever, it's really important to produce high-value content that engages your shoppers and is targeted to the right audiences. We called out on the previous slide that consumers are looking for economical ways to stay frugal and being more price conscious of the items that they're buying during this time. So offer content that your audience will find helpful. Your audience is at home looking for content to consume and engaging with the content they want most. For B2C brands, this can include DIY tutorials, recipes, live streams, demos, and blogs. And for B2B brands, focus more on white papers, webinars, and ebooks. Diving a little more into B2Bs, in a recent survey from eMarketer, roughly a third of purchasing businesses said that they would need more quality and accurate information about what it was that they were buying, while 23% noted that they would need to have more confidence in the purchases that they were making. B2Bs that aren't considered essential during this time should not pursue the hard sell or be too aggressive with marketing and sales touchpoints. This could also be said for both B2B and B2C. This approach of the hard sell could come off as being insensitive, and instead B2B brands should show more compassion and offer solutions and deals while being consultative. This may not drive the immediate revenue, but it will help in the long term. And really take the opportunity to invest in building out your audience. Consumers may not be interested in your product and offer, but consumers may be interested in your product and offer, but may not be able to purchase right now at this moment. Advertising has never been about the immediate sell. It's all about building relationships, loyalty, and trust. So provide your audience the relative and valuable content that they need, as well as the right targeting, and ensure that your pixel is installed properly on your website so that you can track their activity. This will help create the opportunity to market to these prospects at a future date when the timing is right. So key takeaways from this section would be to really stay up to date. Each news cycle poses new opportunities and changes to consumer mindset and buying behaviors. Follow trends and identify the right ways to engage with consumers as the climate evolves, and build relationships. Cater your creative and messaging to help people find what it is that they need during these times, and engage with relevant content and build rapport, and when the timing is right, remarket. Now let's talk about how to adapt, pivot, and transform your business. One of the things that we've been most excited about and following in the last 4 to 5 weeks has been watching businesses transform. We've seen new businesses completely pivoting their strategies and going online and really evolving themselves. And understand that consumer behavior is changing for the long run. 40% of consumers say that they will shop online more frequently after the outbreak. So if you already have an online presence, great. If you don't, invest in one now. You can even just start off with a Facebook business page, which is free, and then explore other options like a WordPress site, a Shopify site, or any other e-commerce site. There's tons of free tools available out there for you. Just get online and ensure that you have a presence because user behavior is shifting and it's changing for the long term. And don't forget to invest in your customer experience. The quality of customer experience is affected by everything users interact with, from the design, ease of navigation, to how fast your website loads. When everything is working well together, it creates a cohesive experience for site visitors and reflects on how they perceive your brand as fast, responsive, and listening to customers. Setting up and investing in your digital customer experience will help you connect with your audience in ways that your competitors are unable to do so. And another thing you should note as to why you should invest in your customer experience is that according to recent surveys from Global Web Index, they state that 50% of consumers don't plan to return to shops for a long time. This continues to validate that consumer behavior is shifting, and now is the time to invest online. So ensure that you can provide a seamless web and transaction experience by investing in e-commerce platforms that we mentioned earlier, WordPress, Shopify, WooCommerce, online payment and transaction services like PayPal and Stripe, and appointment booking software if necessary. And remember to pivot, not panic. Identify ways that you can continue to evolve your offerings to meet current needs. Brick and mortars in particular have had to be very creative during this time by identifying ways that they can make their offering more digital to continue to service customers where they are. Going back to the idea of transformation, we've seen great strides from companies evolving during this time. From breweries now offering hand sanitizer, to clothing companies sewing face masks, to restaurants now offering DIY cooking kits, and salons providing meal kits to go. We are also seeing gyms now streaming their online workouts, and even trade shows offering virtual events as a way to stay connected. So really identify the ways that you can continue business online. If you haven't already joined this trend, think of how you can participate. Other examples include virtual concerts, cooking classes, and more. And we've also seen an emergence in telehealth, online education, and webinars during this time. So what did we learn in this section? Go digital. Ensure you have a digital presence as more consumers shift to online shopping, and invest in that customer experience so that you stand out from the competition. And be agile and pivot. Now more than ever, businesses need to move quickly to adapt to the current climate. Identify opportunities where you can adapt that will set your business up for long-term success. In the next section, we'll discuss why now is the perfect time to test, measure, and optimize your advertising strategies. Now is the time to really kind of dig into your campaign objectives and understand what potentially you could test in addition to what you're already currently running. You should always be running a conversion campaign, but consider running a Facebook lead ad campaign during this time as well. Lead ads can be a great help in helping you build your email marketing list, and they are also a great tool when consumers aren't necessarily buying, but would consider submitting their email address in exchange for content that they find valuable. Another great thing about collecting emails up front is that you can market to these people at a future time via social and email marketing. And you can also nurture them through an email campaign until they are ready to make that purchase. You can also focus on your top of the funnel awareness and build your awareness with brand awareness campaign objectives. And there are also opportunities with messenger marketing. We called out earlier that 46% of people said that they were spending more time on messenger apps. Reach them exactly where they are and make it easy for them to communicate with your business via messenger and be responsive. And also explore how you can get creative during this time, like building new audiences out of lookalike audiences, retargeting engaged customers who have purchased in the past or have engaged with your ads, and identify ways that you can continue to also remarket to your existing audiences during this time. You want to retain those existing customer relationships. Also, when you're creating new ads, ensure that your targeting and your messaging speaks to each audience that you are targeting. And get creative. CPM costs are an all-time low. Explore new ways that you can invest in the time in testing new creative and content. You can try things like new messaging, headlines, or call to actions, and you can test new landing pages, website designs. If you haven't explored video during this time, give that a go right now, and try Facebook and Instagram Live. Facebook has reported a surge in the number of people who have been live streaming content and events. Find out how you can take your business online and show your audience what's going on with your business. Let them know what you're doing to adapt to COVID-19 and how they can help you during this time. And lastly, explore ways that you can partner with local micro-influencers. Micro-influencers have built huge, loyal social media followings. Understand how your brand can participate and use these followings to drive traffic to your business. And really identify what your key performance indicators are that you should be tracking during this time. Of course, always keep an eye on your conversions and cost per acquisition cost, as those will always be the most important. But for example, if you shift to a lead generation campaign, you may want to start optimizing for the number and cost of new leads that are coming in. Or if you're shifting to focus more on building brand awareness, you might want to then focus on metrics that relate more to that campaign objective, like brand recall lift, traffic, and engagement. And as you continue to measure and launch these new ads, understand how they are performing and keep optimizing as the climate of the crisis continues to change. So what do we need to remember here? Create and test new ads. CPMs are at historical lows. Use this time to experiment and test new ad creative, messaging, ad formats, and audiences to understand what works and what doesn't, and measure and evolve. What worked 2 months ago may no longer be performing. So don't be afraid to pause underperforming ads and create new ads that are relevant today and continue to optimize them. And our last recommended strategy in this presentation, but probably one of the most important, is to be present and plan for the future. This is the place where business meets empathy. Again, we understand that for many businesses, it's a natural reaction to cut expenses as revenue decreases due to shutdowns and panic. But as we've learned from previous economic events, like the real estate crash in 2008 and other recessions, is that an economic downturn can also provide opportunity. And while I understand that we will not be able to cover the full loss of what you've incurred during these times, we do hope that these opportunities present areas where you can help fill the gap of what you're losing. And be empathetic towards your peers and audience during this time, and keep looking towards the future. Everything has changed. We're now living in a new normal, and your clients and customers need you to participate and be present during this time as they search for connection and relationship opportunities that help restore that sense of normalcy for them. Identify ways that you can remain relevant, and although sales may be slower, use this time to invest in yourself, your business, and customer relationships. When we come out of this, people will remember the brands that took the lead, were human, and were caring during this time. And I'm not sure if we have any sailors in the audience, but this quote seems to fit perfectly with the climate businesses are facing today. When things feel out of control, focus on what you can control. Be proactive and provide meaning to your audience that will last far beyond this pandemic. Nothing is stopping you from accomplishing any of the strategies we've discussed in today's presentation. So start adjusting your sales by optimizing, investing, and forming relationships, and growing your reach and building your overall awareness where it matters most. Thank you for joining today. Happy to take any questions that you may all have.
Awesome, Pia. Thank you so much. That was incredible. The slide deck was beautiful, packed with tons of information, and we have tons of questions that have been coming through. So while we get to that, I'm actually going to launch a special offer here for everyone on the line. You just learned so much about Facebook trends and everything that's happening on social media and advertising on those platforms. But sometimes it's even more beneficial to get that personalized look at your account with your account data and really talk to one of the experts here at WordStream who are working on Facebook and Google advertising platforms every day and can help give you a consultation that's specific to your business and allow you to get that insight that you might not be able to just figure out on your own. So while you're deciding on if you'd like to take us up on that, let's get into some questions. So one thing, let's start kind of from the top level. What is a good budget to start with on Facebook? If we've got some people on the line that are brand new to Facebook advertising and want to know what's realistic in terms of budget.
Yeah, so I think it really depends on what type of business you're in and what you can afford to spend. Every business is different. You should also take a look at the products that you're selling. What is the margin and CPA that you're looking to achieve when you're establishing what your budget is? You want to ensure that you have a healthy enough budget where essentially you can feel comfortable spending in the event that this money will not be returned, but also a big enough budget that'll allow you to reach audiences where it matters the most. In regards to if you're a new business, first steps I would take, look at your product line, understand the price points and what your margins are, and then start with $20, $25, and then increase that as you start to see your metrics coming in so that you can understand whether you should continue to invest further or shift your strategies. But it's really dependent on what type of business you're in. So I can't give an exact number, but start small and continue to invest further as you see performance metrics come in.
Yeah, awesome. Alrighty. And then, sticking to a little bit of the basics here still for the newer advertisers on the line, could you just quickly explain what a lookalike audience is?
Yes. So a lookalike audience is an audience that's built off your existing customers. These are existing customers, can be people who've purchased from your website, people who've engaged with your ads. And what you're doing is when you attach a pixel onto your website, this pixel is tracking all that activity. And then when you go back to Facebook, you can create a lookalike audience of those people. So these are people who have been most engaged and more likely to purchase from you. And Facebook essentially does all the heavy lifting for you and identifies people within their Facebook network that match the characteristics, personality, and traits of these people who've already engaged with your brand. So they are essentially scanning for the people who are more likely to take actual actions based on previous customer activity.
Awesome. Alrighty. And let's see, thinking more about, the times with the pandemic and how it's influenced everything. You talked a little bit about kind of pivoting your strategy for those industries, such as airlines and hotels who truly don't have a demand right now. Could you just refresh everyone who, with some strategy ideas to pivot and be less salesy for those categories? I know you talked about building loyalty and trust, perhaps doing more content, but maybe just like a high level reminder of some options for advertising strategies right now in those industries.
Yeah, so I know for travel companies and those in automotive who've been really hurt during this pandemic, one thing that you can really shift your attention to is building the content. So I've seen websites and tourism bureaus offer content that helps people look towards the future and gives them ideas of how they can fill their bucket list with different activities. I've seen some travel companies, I think it was the Philippines Tourism Bureau, is offering virtual backgrounds to make people feel like they're actually in the Philippines when they're in these meetings. Additionally, travel websites that I subscribe to have been sending me examples and ideas of how I can take virtual vacations. I think it was the Points guy who I follow sent me an email recently of how I could take a virtual tour of Egypt. I think I spent 30 to 40 minutes just exploring the pyramids of Giza via Google Maps. But
awesome.
yeah, they found a way to keep me engaged during this time. And although I can't travel, it's added that I'll remember that brand for giving me that idea. And I'm very likely to add Egypt back to my list of places to visit. But it really goes back to just continue to create content as much as it matters. I have another friend who works in real estate right now. They're in a situation where they can't necessarily go to live showings, so they pivoted to offer more virtual showings. So they're speaking to customers through FaceTime, through Zoom calls, and showcasing them these new apartments via those channels as well. So really just identify ways that you can engage with content that's relevant to users, that it engages them, and identify ways that you can go digital and virtual for your business during this time.
Awesome. Another question that came through was about some of those micro influencers. We had a couple people really interested in, any tips you have for identifying and finding micro influencers for your industry, and also if you had any creative ways to connect with those micro influencers without spending tons of cash.
Yeah, so what I typically do whenever I'm looking for local micro influencers is I will look for relevant hashtags. So I'm a Boston foodie. I like to learn a little bit more about what restaurants are selling during this time. I like to see what's on the menu. And what I found is that when I search relevant hashtags like Boston food, Boston restaurants, it'll pull up a number of different micro influencers in the area. And depending on the content that they provide, a lot of times I'll subscribe to them because I find their content to be relevant and also relative to what it is that I'm searching for. For restaurants or for any businesses of that matter, use these hashtags related to your business to find the micro influencers within your markets. Statistics have shown that those with 1,000 to 5,000 followers actually tend to have the highest engagement amongst their influencer audience. So you can even start with influencers that have smaller followings to start. And then just send them a message. Send them a message via their direct message on Instagram, Facebook, wherever be it, and ask for ways that you can partner for help. A lot of them sometimes have media kits, and other times they're also looking for content to engage their own audiences with. So for some of the micro influencers that I've been looking at and watching more closely these past few weeks, they've partnered with local businesses to offer gift cards or discounts to apply at a future time and date. So there's lots of different ways that you can get creative, from gift cards, creative, to just content that kind of talks about how they've engaged with your business in the past, are other good ways of doing it. And also, when you're on your own organic pages, take a look at all the people who've tagged your business during this time. These were the people who were coming to your business, engaging with your products, and most likely have the best things to say about it. How can you leverage what they said about your product and use that as user-generated content that you can use in your own advertising campaigns? We find that most consumers really look towards social comments and approval from other people before they decide to make purchases. So really leverage that user-generated content as much as you can.
Awesome. That was great. Another question we had, we know that traffic has skyrocketed on social media platforms. Is there any change in the demographics of people that are with that growth? Has the demographic changed in terms of age, gender? I know there's definitely been changes in mobile versus desktop, but any other insights you have in terms of what that traffic mix looks like?
Yeah, I don't have too many insights right now just on the gender breakdown, but what we are seeing is there's definitely a shift in the younger generations, like Generation Z and millennials, spending more time online and on these different social sites than older generations. I think it's just reflective of the generations and how we grew up, and it's natural to see them spending more time. We're also seeing shifts in usage with TikTok, for example, which is a newer social network that's come, but they've seen unprecedented growth during this time as a result of more people discovering it during this pandemic and rise in Generation Z and millennials sharing more content to their users and their friends to remain connected at this time.
Awesome. And then, gosh, we have so many questions coming in. This is great. If we can't, just as a caveat, if we can't get to all of your questions, we'll be sure to follow up and connect you with someone who can answer your question, especially for those that are a bit more industry specific after the call, or sorry, after the webinar. So something else, kind of backtracking to the beginner level, if someone's thinking about getting started with Facebook advertising, they also know that Facebook owns Instagram. Should they start with Instagram or Facebook? Try to do both. Do you have best practices there?
Yeah, so when creating an ad campaign, select all placements. When you're a first-time advertiser, you want to understand how your ads respond across these different networks. So when you go through the process of creating your ad, there's an option to select all automated placements. Let this run for a period of 8 days, and once your ad is out of that learning phase, the learning phase is where Facebook's really optimizing and understanding where your audience is best found. You can really kind of dig in and look to understand how the engagement was across different placements like Facebook versus Instagram versus audience network, and decide then if you want to make any adjustments to your campaign or focus specifically on one network versus the other.
Awesome. And then can you just remind everyone on the line one more time for some of those quick hits? You said that CPA has gone down. Can you just run through some of those key metrics one more time?
Sure. Let's pull those up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so impressions and reach have increased for our advertisers. We've seen approximately 20 to 27% increase when it comes to impressions and reach. We've seen our CPM costs decline in April 35%. We've seen our cost per click cost also decline, approximately 12%. Some businesses in some segments seeing even further decreases, so lifestyle and fitness and business and money seeing a 20% decrease in their cost per clicks. And click-through rate has also declined an average of 18% across all our segments, which aligns with a lot of what we're seeing in the marketplace. But within these segments, there are still some who are seeing growth in their click-through rates. And as I called out earlier, these primarily include those in the essentials category, so like retailers and gen merchandise, hobbies and leisure, and sports and fitness. And then for those that don't necessarily fall into the essentials category, the reasons we believe that they're seeing these increases during this time are because they've been really active in ensuring that their ads are relative and perhaps shifting to more of direct response type ad campaigns.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I'm not sure if we'll be able to answer this or not, but I thought it was interesting. We have a couple of agencies on the line who are like, you know, we love this Facebook information, but do you have any strategies for agencies whose clients have been really apprehensive in pulling back budget to try to get them back onto Facebook, back to spending money? You know, clients that have been cutting their marketing budgets. Is there anything that you or maybe Christina, who's here with us, have for tips for agencies to kind of get their clients spending again?
Yeah, Christina, do you want to take this one first?
I was thinking that something in particular is just using the data. We're going to be sending this deck to everyone who's on the line and who registered. And I think that data speaks volumes. So that could be one step, but I'm interested to hear what Christina might have to say.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Do you mind just repeating the question one more time? Just want to make sure I heard that the right way.
Yeah, so we just have some agencies on the line that are loving all this Facebook information and understand the value of advertising on Facebook during this time, but is there any tips we might have for helping them convince their clients the same? They have clients that are, not promoting or cutting back on marketing budget, and maybe they're only working in organic posts right now. Is there any tips or tricks that you guys could have for the agency folks on the line?
Yeah, definitely. I think I would say kind of similar to the way that Pia was presenting of thinking about your own accounts and what your business is doing, just kind of getting in the mindset of your customer's shoes as an agency. So how is their business evolving? Are they open? What are their goals right now? And then I think understanding what their goals are will help you to understand how you recommend strategies and interact with their account. So I think it's getting in the shoes of their business and seeing what the trends are, and then using this data. So like Pia suggested, and saying, hey, we're seeing CPAs down, and just kind of trying to show them that pitch of there is a lot of opportunity there now. And I think a lot of that process is painting the picture for your agency clients and saying, if you were to invest at this level, we imagine that you could actually lift your brand awareness and drive to your goals. So I think it's making sure that you understand where their business state is, and then kind of using that data within their accounts, within these benchmarks, to say, hey, here's what the opportunity is.
And I echo everything that both Amanda and Christina just said. Data is really important, and really understanding your client's current state and what's going on and how their customers have been impacted during this time. Additionally, really kind of digging in to see what their competitors are doing during this time. I think we mentioned a few times that the reason why we're seeing cost decrease so much is that there's so many people or so many advertisers out there who are pausing their campaigns during this time. So it presents opportunities for you to really grow your share of voice during this opportunity. And I left it on this slide just because, as we've said, history has shown that those brands that continue to increase their share of voice during this time actually end up increasing their share of market in the long term. So there's opportunity for all clients, even if they just want to start out small, to see how the results start coming in, to really just test and try advertising during this time.
Excellent. Yeah. And then I guess I'll end with this last question. Do you expect to see these traffic trends and the increase to continue to grow over the next couple of months, or plateau soon when people maybe aren't as home as much? Like, what are you thinking for timeline or expecting?
Yeah, it's hard to give a timeline, but I can imagine as we start to see things reopen, we may start seeing more people shift more of their attention from being online to starting to go out more frequently. I do think we've created some new behaviors for the long term, though, so I think we'll continue to see increases in people who are shopping online, going to your website versus coming into store. In regards to traffic, I think you can continue to expect to see traffic increase. It may not be at the level of growth that we experienced these last couple months in particular. And we're also starting to see, as Facebook had mentioned earlier in the presentation, signs of stability. So where automotive and travel are still in a tough position, we are seeing an increase significantly in e-commerce websites and gaming websites. Those who have presence already built online really take advantage of this low inventory and increase their market share during these times. So it may begin to get more competitive for certain industries as we see people starting to pivot back into advertising.
Perfect. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, again, we have this offer up on the screen for a personalized consultation with some Facebook experts at WordStream to kind of give you an overall strategy revamp for your ads on social and Google if you're also performing advertising on Google. So let us know if you're interested in that. And with that, I will let you all go. Thank you so much for joining us. We still have questions pouring in, but for those industry-specific ones, again, I'll try to connect you with someone here at WordStream, or please take us up on that consultation. So again, thank you, Pia. That was incredible, and we hope to see everyone on our next webinar. Thank you.